Hi guys, this is Sunil from our Food Forest project. For the last few years, I've been getting really interested and passionate about finding ways to simplify my life, get out of the rat race, and connect with nature a lot more, and in doing so, connect with my deeper self. Um, and a big part of that is learning to grow my own food. Uh, you know, when we came to this earth as uh, early humans, hunter gatherers, um, we were surrounded by abundance. All we had to do was, pick and gather, hunt a little bit, um, and I guess we would have learned quite early on to grow our own food because we would have liked certain foods more than others, perhaps, um, and we would have learned from nature. That was the only teacher we had. So we would have looked at how nature grows food, and we would have tried to copy that. And I'm sure that would have been fairly easy to do because we were surrounded by nature. Fast forward thousands of years, we seem to have completely lost that connection. We seem to think that we can do things better than nature can. Um, at some point, we decided we had to chop all the trees down, I suppose, so that we could run big machines in the farms to grow food. Trees are in many ways the basis of life for us. The trees, the roots of the trees, they feed the microorganisms in the soil that keeps the soil alive and full of nutrition. They drop down their leaves, give the soil biomass, which again feeds the microbes. Trees, they create rain for us, they provide shade, they provide food. They are a habitat for thousands of insects and birds. They're absolutely fundamental to life. And then the next thing we did is we decided we had to plow the soil because the soil had degraded. It had lost its nutrients, its structure. It was hard, so we had to break it up so we could plant things. And of course, in doing that, we completely destroy the fungal networks in the soil, the communication networks between the plants and the trees and all that, and the microbes, which don't like to be brought up to the surface. So we further destroy our soils, and then in our infinite wisdom, we thought we should plant single crops, monoculture. And of course, the soils were dead, so we had to start bringing in fertilizers, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, whatever else, and that has a very bad effect on the food cycle in the soil as well, because the plants, they get spoiled with these macronutrients, and they stop producing the sugars in their roots that feed the microbes, which then break down the nutrients into the soil to make micronutrients. So our food is now pretty nutrient dead as well. So we've created a lot of problems, and then of course, a pest comes in and it has this great field of a monocrop that it loves, and it just goes crazy through it, and there's no biodiversity anymore. There's no checks and balances in place to keep that pest under control. So all we've got left is to go and get these synthetic sprays, these insecticides and pesticides, and we go to war. And of course, that works its way into our food chain. So it's pretty disastrous. And the great news, though, is that there's been a massive undercurrent in the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years, 15 years of farmers learning to farm in a natural way. There are some great pioneers out there, for example, Dr. Zach Bush, Dr. Ingham, and I'm sure there are many others that I haven't even heard of, that are going out there, working with farmers, educating them, teaching them to convert their farms from these, conventional GMO crop-based farms to natural systems such as regenerative agriculture or syntropic agriculture. You may have heard these names bandied about, which are aimed at repairing the soils. Most statistics say we've lost more than 80% of our topsoil that we ever had on this planet. Without the topsoils, we can't grow food. There's aquaponics and things like that, but primarily we grow food in healthy soils. So these techniques, they look at putting the trees back, working with trees, all kinds of trees that put nitrogen from the air into the ground, fruit trees, nut trees, and they have the crops in between these trees. And they have different kinds of crops, not just monocrops. So they have rotation cycles. They have cycles where they grow crops for livestock. Livestock have a way of naturally roaming and chomping down the nutrients and putting them back into the ground. Their manure obviously turns a lot of that biomass into nitrogen, and the soil starts to heal, and the ecology starts to heal, and the biodiversity starts to come back. And the great thing is that farmers are finding within 2 to 3 years they are almost trebling, 300% increase in their yields. And it's not just the one or two crops that they grew before. Now they have a plethora of different crops, right from tree crops to small plant crops to berries to what have you. And as a result of that, they're getting far more resilient. They don't have the issue with pests anymore because there are the checks and balances in place. Their input costs go down. They don't need to buy the pesticides and the chemicals. Their yields have gone up, so their revenues are going up. But also they are participating in the process of healing this earth, healing the soils, sequestering carbon. A lot of studies are suggesting that regenerative agriculture, soil repairing, is the single greatest tool we have to combat greenhouse gases. So it's amazing what's going on. And there's also been this thing called permaculture, a big movement has been going on since the 1970s, I believe. Permaculture stands for permanent agriculture. And it's not just about growing food, it's far greater than that. It's about creating self-sufficient communities. It's about working with communities, about sharing your surplus, about architecture, passive solar design, about rainwater harvesting. It's about a whole range of things, but growing food is, I suppose, at the heart of permaculture. And it's not targeting the big farmers, it's actually targeting people like you and me. It's right from people who have a balcony that can grow a few things in pots, maybe, in troughs, to people with little gardens, all the way to people that have, a bit of acreage. So it's very much about us taking control back and with our communities becoming self-sufficient, and that's what I'm interested in doing. I'm not particularly experienced. I've been doing this for about 2 years. I'm learning on the job. I'm much more a student than a teacher. I certainly have no permaculture qualifications. I have not done a permaculture design certificate. But I've been learning from a range of resources, from people, some great mentors that I have, as well as from free resources that you can get on the internet. So there's a lot of information out there. And what I'm hoping to do is to just encourage, influence, inspire my circle, people that know me, and that people that come in contact with me, and to learn through what I'm learning. So for me to share my experience, basically. So as soon as I figure something out, I'm going to do a little video to show how I've done that. And I hope you will come on board with your own advice, your own experiences to share, and for us to create this portal of education together, to share this knowledge freely, because this is such important knowledge that we need to share with the world. We need to learn to go back and be resilient, have contact with our food, and through that get a much deeper connection with nature and our deeper selves. I'm hoping to encourage people that don't know where to start, and that need some practical advice to get going. You're going to make mistakes, no matter what resources you have and what training you have, because every situation is different. But armed with the knowledge from people that have done this before, you're going to get off to a good start. And mistakes are there for you to learn from. I promise you that you will very quickly get up to speed and be able to start growing things, and you will have great fun and a great connection with nature in doing this. I hope you will join me on this journey. Please do interact with the resources and provide your own advice and feedback and comments. So remember, this is not my food forest project, it's our food forest project. And I do hope that you will enjoy the process, have a lot of fun along the way, and get started.